you ever wondered why some people seem completely comfortable under pressure? Not because they are stronger than everyone else, not because they are more talented than everyone around them, but because they simply refuse to be afraid. That is the story of Lamine Yamal, a boy from a working-class neighborhood near Barcelona who went from playing football on rough streets to becoming one of the most exciting young stars in world football. And through all the pressure, all the expectations, and all the comparisons, one thing never changed: his smile. Lamine Yamal was born in Spain in 2007. His family had roots in Morocco and Equatorial Guinea, and life was not always easy. Money was tight. His family worked hard, and when Lamine was very young, his parents separated. He grew up between different homes, but one place became especially important in his life: Rocafonda, a working neighborhood in Mataró, north of Barcelona. This was where Lamine spent his childhood and where he learned to play football. The streets were not perfect. There were no giant stadiums, no perfect grass pitches, just concrete, parked cars, older kids, and a football. Lamine often played against children who were bigger and stronger than him. He was pushed, he was kicked, sometimes he fell, but he always got back up, and most importantly, he kept smiling. That environment taught him something that would later become one of his greatest strengths. Don't be afraid, because on the streets, if you were scared of making a mistake, you stopped playing. And Lamine never stopped playing. There is another remarkable part of his childhood. When Lamine was still a baby, he was photographed with Lionel Messi at Barcelona's Camp Nou. At the time, nobody could have imagined what that photograph would eventually mean. Years later, the world would compare Lamine with Messi. But Lamine never wanted to become another Messi. He wanted to become himself. At just 7 years old, Lamine joined Barcelona's famous youth academy, La Masia, and almost immediately, coaches noticed something different. He was not simply quick, he was not simply skillful. He had imagination. He could see passes other players couldn't see. He could control the ball in tight spaces, and most importantly, he played without fear. Then came the moment when his childhood dream became reality. April 2023. Barcelona were playing Real Betis at Camp Nou. Lamine was only 15 years old. When his name was called, he walked onto the pitch wearing the famous Barcelona shirt. 15 years old, playing at one of the biggest stadiums in world football. For most teenagers, that moment would be terrifying. But Lamine looked calm. He played as if he belonged there. And suddenly, the football world began asking a familiar question. Could this be the next Messi? But Lamine had a simple answer. He did not want to compare himself with anyone. He just wanted to play. Then came Spain. In 2023, Lamine received his chance with the senior national team. He was only 16, and he didn't need long to make history. Against Georgia, Lamine scored his first goal for Spain. At just 16 years and 57 days, he became the youngest player to score for the Spanish national team. But that was only the beginning. The biggest stage was still waiting. Euro 2024. Spain arrived in Germany with a young team, and on the right wing was a teenager who had barely turned 17. Nobody knew exactly how he would react to the pressure. Would the biggest matches be too much for him? Would the defenders stop him? Would he freeze when the world was watching? The answer came against France in the semifinal. France scored first. Spain were behind. And then Lamine received the ball outside the box. Two defenders were nearby. Instead of passing backward, he moved inside. He created space. And then He curled the ball toward the far corner. The goalkeeper stretched, but he couldn't reach it. Goal! Lamine Yamal had just scored one of the most memorable goals of the tournament, and he had done it at only 16 years old. He became the youngest scorer in European Championship history. But Lamine wasn't finished. 4 days later, he turned 17, and the very next day, he walked onto the pitch for the European Championship final against England. Spain needed a breakthrough. Lamine received the ball on the right. He moved past his defender, looked up, and delivered the pass that helped create Spain's opening goal. Spain eventually won 2-1, European champions, and Lamine Yamal, at just 17 years old, was a champion of Europe. But perhaps the most memorable moment came after the match. During the celebrations, Lamine raised his hands and showed 3 numbers with his fingers: 3-0-4, 3-0-4. Those numbers represented the final digits of Rocafonda's postal code, the neighborhood where he grew up, the place where he learned football, the place where he learned to keep going. He had reached the biggest stage, but he hadn't forgotten where he came from. And that is what makes Lamine's story different. The football world sees the Barcelona shirt, the trophies, the records, the millions of fans. But behind all of that, there is still the boy from Rocafonda, the boy who played football on concrete, the boy who played against bigger children, the boy who fell and got back up, the boy who learned that fear was not going to help him. Today, millions of young football fans watch Lamine Yamal and dream about becoming like him. But perhaps his greatest lesson isn't about football at all. It's about confidence. It's about taking your opportunity when it arrives. 'Cause sometimes the biggest obstacle isn't the opponent in front of you. It's the fear inside you. Lamine walked into Camp Nou at 15. He walked into international football at 16. He stepped onto the European Championship stage and became a champion at 17. He didn't wait until he felt completely ready. He simply played. And maybe that's the lesson we can all take from his journey. You don't have to know exactly how your story will end. You just have to take the next step. Keep working, keep believing, and don't let fear decide what you can become. Because Lamine Yamal's story is still being written. The boy from Rocafonda has already made history, but his journey is far from finished. Maybe there will be more trophies, more records, more unforgettable goals. Maybe one day his name will be mentioned among football's greatest legends. We don't know yet. And that's what makes the next chapter so exciting. Because the story of Lamine Yamal is not really about becoming the next Messi. It's about becoming the first Lamine Yamal, the boy from Rocafonda, the boy who kept smiling, the boy who never learned to be afraid. And perhaps the greatest part of his story hasn't even been written yet. So tell me, what do you think is the biggest reason behind Lamine Yamal's incredible rise? His talent? His confidence? Or the difficult streets that shaped him? Let me know in the comments. And if you enjoyed this football story, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and stay with us for more unforgettable football stories. Because behind every superstar, there is a journey. And behind every journey, there is a dream.